I actually believe that more and more people are going to begin to experience the failures of this administration at the federal level, but it's going to take a collective response of working people across this country to stand up to this tyrannical administration.
Maybe the sinister man, orange man bad, made you put the $20 million in for the South Side organizing project. Wow. This night just keeps getting more and more amazing. I can't. Oh, wait, hang on. I bet Donald Trump called the mayor of Chicago and asked him to tax everybody in Illinois.
That's just some of the back and forth in the aftermath of Illinois passing the state's largest spending plan in state history, with tax increases, fee increases, and corporate tax changes and the like. And the reaction continues. Earlier this week, we did hear some of what Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say about the failure of the state legislature to pass a bill consolidating mass transit in the Chicagoland area and providing for a $1.50 tax increase on retail delivery. Now, that measure did not pass. So you may be seeing some people on social media saying, hey, they're going to start taxing your retail deliveries $1.50 a piece. That did not pass. Now, could they still bring it up in summer? Yes, they could call a special session because it's a $700 and some odd million fiscal cliff that mass transit's facing, and they're going to be looking at possible service cuts or fee increases for those who actually use mass transit. But they could do that this summer. They could come back for fall session and do that as well. So it's still out there and could happen, but it didn't pass before they adjourned for summer. So if you see stuff saying, hey, you're going to be taxed $1.50 on retail delivery, that did not advance. But the budget did. The tax increase bill did. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson earlier this week talking about the budget, which, again, is the most expensive state budget in state history that increases taxes. Here's what he had to say about that.
This budget was austere. There are budgetary challenges all over the country, and we're faced with that because we do have a great deal of uncertainty and, quite frankly, animosity that's coming from the federal government. Those are all complicated matters that have made this effort a bit more challenging. And yes, we have to get this right, and we have to do it with some expediency.
So again, the budget is austere, he said, an austere budget. And even the governor and others said that they cut in the budget. Well, they may have reduced the amount being spent from the governor's proposed budget in February, but it's definitely not cutting from last year. It's $2 billion more expensive than last year. It's like $15 billion more expensive than when the governor took office. So it's the most expensive budget plan in state history at $55.2 billion. I don't know if you can call that austere. But again, the mayor saying that it's the Trump administration and the possibility of withholding funds that could impact the state budget, and they needed to get through it with some quickness. But then again, the mayor said that the Trump administration is being tyrannical.
I actually believe that more and more people are going to begin to experience the failures of this administration at the federal level, but it's going to take a collective response of working people across this country to stand up to this tyrannical administration.
So he calls it a tyrannical administration, and we heard Democrats as well on the House floor and on the Senate floor pointing to a tough budget year, saying that the Trump administration's really kind of the impetus of it being, quote, a tough budget year, the need for making tough decisions to increase line items here, decrease them there, to increase taxes here and such. Republican State Senator Chapin Rose on the Senate floor wasn't buying it.
Maybe the sinister man, orange man bad, made you put the $20 million in for the South Side organizing project. Wow. This night just keeps getting more and more amazing. I can't. Oh, wait, hang on. I bet Donald Trump called the mayor of Chicago and asked him to tax everybody in Illinois. Is that, can we get a confirmation? We'll call Steve Miller to say, yep, you got to do this, Mr. Mayor, you got to do it. Think about what you are doing. Think about it. Every mom who is late at work with a newborn at home, taxed. Every senior citizen who can't go out of the house, taxed.
And again, this was a debate around the transit bill that would have increased that $1.50 tax on the retail delivery industry. And it would have even had in the bill that the retail delivery industry could not put that charge on the receipt for the customer. So they were trying to hide that receipt item, $1.50. So it would just be handed into an overall general fee increase, I guess. But that didn't pass. Again, I want to make sure people understand that $1.50 charge per retail delivery did not pass. What did pass in the revenue bill, which was a standalone revenue bill, not part of the transit consolidation. I mean, you had increased, cell phone taxes, increased tobacco taxes, increased sports wagering taxes, changes to corporate taxes, changes to retail taxes if they are outside the state, a whole bunch of things. But again, not that $1.50 retail delivery charge that would have gone to the transit issue. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson talked about revenue and how he is always looking for what he calls progressive revenue.
These are, individuals that have done exceptionally well. And I know there's been some conversations about a millionaire's tax and other forms of progressive taxation that challenges the ultra rich to pay their fair share. As far as some of these other, ideas that don't get at what I want us to get at, which is to challenge the ultra wealthy in this state to pay more. I have not taken a firm position, and I just think that it's important that, we come up with solutions that are sustainable and that they don't overwhelm, the pocketbooks of working people.
So he didn't necessarily take a position on that retail delivery tax. Instead, he wants to talk more about, and as he has for months and months, and probably since before he ran for Chicago mayor, that he wants a tax on millionaires. He wants a tax on the ultra rich, he says. But when you get down to brass tacks here, of course, Chicago's hurting with its budget and did not necessarily get everything it wanted in the state budget for Chicago. But Chicago alder people are pointing out that the city has really kind of just neglected to really address the issues of its spending and being on the ball. Alderman Scott Wagaspak, he offered a take of, where some aldermen feel they're at in this process of taxing and spending and responsible management of the public trust.
We are behind the eight ball in part because of management. We have seen the mayor fail to get down to Springfield in a timely manner and once again miss the boat on finding those revenue sources that we are going to need as a city to close this $980 million budget gap.
And again, that's for the city of Chicago, and they're facing close to $1 billion budget gap. Alderman Anthony Beal also saying that the city is spending too much, and they tried to get city officials to ratchet back spending.
We know that there's a lot of fluff and a lot of fat, and we didn't look to do any of those cuts and efficiencies as we were pushing forward, and that really put us in that position. So I don't think it's really, I don't know if it's strategic, but you guys are trying to shift the blame on the city council for the downgrade instead of accepting the responsibility for the budget that was presented.
So the city of Chicago going to have to deal with their $1 billion budget deficit after the state passes its most expensive spending plan with about $1 billion in tax increases and fee increases and collections. There's a lot there, and we just scratched the surface. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. And just a programming note, I am off Friday, so have yourself a great weekend.